Story time with Squashbox. Story time with Squashbox. Story time with Squashbox. Story time with Squashbox.
Hello everybody and welcome to Squashbox Storytime. Once upon a time there was a cat, and this cat's name was Dixie. Now Dixie the cat lived in New York. Oh, she loved living in the big city. She found that life in New York was very knobbly. Oh, there were so many things to walk across. Knobbly fences and knobbly buildings with all their bricks. Now, Dixie the cat was icy. She was very icy because it was winter in New York and everything was covered in snow. She was very, very cold as she walked across the icy streets, and she was also old. She was an old cat. She was very, very old and she wanted somewhere warm to stay. Now, as she was walking across the icy, knobbly streets of New York, she saw someone or something in the shadows, and out from a dark alleyway emerged an elf. And this little elf's name was Zella. Zella the elf. Oh, and when Dixie, the old cat, looked at Zella, she saw that Zella was spooky. She was a spooky elf, and Dixie, the cat, was a little scared. But Zella the elf said, "Don't worry." "Oh no, not again." And this surprised Dixie the cat, and she said, "What's the matter, Zella? What's happened again?" And Zella, the spooky elf, said, "I found a clown's red nose in my pocket." "A clown's red nose?" said Dixie the cat. "Yes," said Zella the elf. "Maybe this can help us find somewhere warm to stay tonight." "Oh," said Dixie, "that's just what I was thinking." And she raised her little furry old head to the heavens and said, "Crikey!" So Zella, the spooky elf, and Dixie, the old cat, wandered through the icy streets of New York. Oh, it was creepy as they walked through the darkness. But then they came to an amazing place. It was Long Run Meadow, Taunton. "What's Long Run Meadow, Taunton doing in the middle of New York?" said Dixie the cat. "I don't know," said Zella, the spooky elf, "but let's take our clown's nose inside and see." As they walked through Long Meadow, Taunton, they thought it was very hairy. It was really hairy inside there, and the hair was brushing their faces and making them feel a little bit scared. It was very, very scary inside Long Meadow, Taunton. But as they went inside, someone emerged, and it was a ginger cat. "Oh, Ginger Cat," said Dixie the cat. "Oh, it's my long-lost uncle, Ginger Cat, and his name is Bog. Bog the Ginger Cat." And Bog the Ginger Cat turned to Dixie and Zella and said, "Shama Lama Moo Moo." And at that, Long Meadow, Taunton, the hairy place they had entered, started to quiver and shake. And from the ground there emerged a toilet. And this toilet was also scary and childish. It was was a very childish toilet. It was painted bright yellow with spots on it, and it was far too tiny for an adult to use. But luckily, both cats and the elf were quite small, so they were quite happy with the childish toilet. But this toilet was also very busy. There was a long queue to use it, and they knew that they would have to wait quite a while. Well, said Dixie the elf to her uncle Bog the ginger cat, what can we do now? And Bog the ginger cat once again looked to the heavens and exclaimed, oh my crispy crumpets. Crumpets? Said Dixie the cat. Crumpets, said Zella the spooky elf. We're starving. Can we have crumpets before we use the childish toilet? Certainly, said Bog the ginger cat, and he led them through Longmeadow Taunton to another amazing place. And this amazing place was a bathroom sink in Norway. Well, by this point, Dixie the cat and Zella the spooky elf were feeling very, very confused and wondering if this might all just be a dream. But no, said Bog, the ginger cat, who was Dixie's uncle. No, you've wandered into a magical world. My realm is full of magic and we can go anywhere. And this kitchen sink in Norway is part of your quest. You see, whenever I turn on the taps of my kitchen sink, the water just flows away and I cannot wash myself with it. I need something to plug the sink and I've lost the plug. I need something small and round and absorbent. And suddenly Spooky the elf turned to the ginger cat and said, oh my great green aliens. What is it? What is it? Said Bog the ginger cat. And Spooky the elf pulled from his pocket the little red clown's nose, placed it into the kitchen sink, and immediately it served as the perfect plug hole. There was enough water for them all to wash and to drink and have a wonderful time. They sat down to eat their crumpets. The toilet was still very busy, and they knew they'd have to wait for that. But they were feeling still quite old, but wild. They were wild, and they ran around the kitchen sink. They zoomed around the edge of the kitchen sink like they were going round a velodrome. And they were having a wonderful time. And the time they had was certainly furry. They were all very furry because there was lots and lots of fur in the water. But they're having a brilliant time. And Dixie, the old cat from Knobbly, New York, was so happy to have found these new friends and to have met her long-lost Uncle Bog, the ginger cat, that she turned to all of them and with a great smile on her face said, whose idea was this? And that is the end of Storytime. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Storytime with Squashbox. Storytime with Squashbox. Storytime with Squashbox. Storytime with Squashbox.